Cisco actually did a study and found that 74% of companies failed with their IoT projects. Microsoft did another study that said about 30% of IoT proof of concepts failed. I'm here to say that your rollout does not have to be a failure. And there are 3 essential areas that you want to look at if you want to succeed with your IoT rollouts. Hi, I'm John Carpenter. I'm the co-founder and president of Excellerant, which is an IoT platform for the CNC metalworking industry. We actually came from the hardware arena. We were the pioneers in wireless technology on the shop floor. We were some of the first guys to actually put wireless devices on CNC machines. And as we were going in and out of shops, we saw that they needed more than just wireless connectivity. The point on the shop floor gave us a spot to collect data and feed it up to databases. Over the last few decades, we've been in and out of literally thousands of shops. We've connected tens of thousands of machines. This really is our bread and butter, getting the shop floor connected to the top floor. And there are 3 common themes that we find when we start to do an IoT project with a company. The first thing is the culture change that you'll find with every single company, small or large, that you deal with. There's always a people part of this that comes to play. And a lot of companies overlook that. They'll look at the technology, they'll look at, we need to implement this, but then they don't necessarily put much focus on the people part. We found that if you address it right out of the gate and say, listen, we're gonna change the way you manufacture things, and address it with your people as you're heading into the project, there's a higher success rate at the end. So from the point that we actually go and implement a system on the shop floor, what we find is that if we can choose a champion that can help us integrate and teach others how the system works, it actually works out better for the implementation. Getting acceptance by all groups is a key piece. What you want to get away from is where you're putting a system in to monitor the workforce. What you're really trying to do is you're trying to improve process. So if you can pick a champion that people tend to trust, they grab a hold of the technology, they understand that it's being used for the greater good of the company. And it's really neat to watch because you get all kinds of different reactions. And a lot of people say, Big Brother's watching us, and they're doing this so that they can penalize us for some reason. And when you start to roll it out, there is some resistance. I can remember this one factory, they had 4 floors of machines. And there was this one group, really tough, just giving us a hard time about the implementation. And when it was all said and done, we implemented the system. And it came back a few months later to do an upgrade on a different part of the system. And this one guy that was the hardest guy to deal with during the rollout, the initial rollout, actually stopped me. I'm with a group of guys. He stopped me, comes up, he says, I just want to shake your hand. He goes, in the 30 years I've been here, this is the best thing management's ever decided to do. Coming into it, they didn't know what they didn't know. They were just scared of change. And so we ended up finding the champions, rolling these systems out, and coming back, and it was a repeated thing over and over. We had these guys just saying, wow, this has been wonderful. It's had us uncover issues that we knew were there, and we were always getting blamed because the machinery wasn't working right, or the programs weren't right, or our shop times weren't right. And it gave us the transparency on both sides so that we could work with management to figure out how do we fix these problems. And so the guys that appreciate it are usually those guys during the rollout that are the tough ones, that are the ones that are just clanging on the machines, and they don't want change. But if you can get the buy-in, if you can get the champions to say, hey, we're going to use this to improve process, we're going to use this to uncover bottlenecks that are on the shop floor. It's all about building the efficiency within that company, no matter what size they are. And it's what we try to do with every company that we do business with. So the second area you want to look at is the systems piece and how your different departments are interacting with the technology that we're putting into place. A lot of the shops that we tend to integrate with are shops that are already looking to improve efficiency. They don't have all new machines, they don't have all old machines. There is a heterogeneous mix of older equipment, newer equipment, everything in between. So the first piece that you really need to do in order to bring an IoT platform to its basic step is connect to all of that equipment. And our company, literally for the last 3 decades, that's what they've been doing. They know the inside of these cabinets. Doesn't matter if it's new equipment or the real old stuff. We've connected all of this equipment in thousands of shops, thousands and thousands of machines. So the expertise of knowing how to connect and get to that data is very important. But that's the first step. Get a connection, a reliable connection to and from that piece of equipment. The second piece of the connection side is determining what kind of data you want from that point. So what you end up doing is you set up what's called an and-on system. And you collect just a few pieces of data. And that's is the machines running? Are they cutting metal? Are we in alarm state? You start with the basics. And then you start to dive deeper into the no-go, what's called the no-go stuff. Are we running at reduced production? Why are we running at reduced production? Is it taking a long time to set up the job and switch to the next job? How close am I to my 100% production? Are the machines having trouble on unplanned maintenance? And that gets you into other areas of inefficiency. But again, it's understanding the internals of those machines to be able to bring all of that data, crystallize it, and serve it up to that IoT platform that with open APIs, other systems can tie into. Ideally, the ERP system is where all the data should live. That system keeps track of material in and out, keeps track of the financials, it keeps track of the personnel piece and times and deliveries and so forth. So realistically, the ERP systems should have all that data. We're not looking to replace any of that, we're looking to enhance it. And it's really why, when you look at the MES whole layer, and you look at business intelligence, that piece had to get specialized because ERP couldn't do it all. They weren't able to get down to that real-time data. And without that real-time data, there's a disconnect between the system that says this is ideally how we should operate the shop and what's actually happening in the shop. As part of the systems are connecting together, you're starting to see operators with the chat ability, for an example, of saying, hey, my tool 5 is wearing faster than expected, and that may trigger somebody in management to actually get different tooling to that operator to keep that job going. You're seeing where live events that are happening on the shop floor, they're already breaking down the bottlenecks before the bottleneck occurs. And over time, what the hope is that you can get to more of a dynamic scheduling aspect. This machine broke, Joe called out sick, this material didn't show up, and this is a small business example. But what I'm talking about is dynamic things that are happening. And how do you shift a schedule so that you're still efficient, so you're still delivering parts when you promised that you were going to deliver parts? Where we're really headed is being able to dynamically decide what is the best route for both the people and the material within the factory or within the shop. And that's where I'm pretty excited about the future. Yeah, so the third thing to consider is as you're coming up through the culture change and the systems change is the change management piece. So things are going to change for you as you start to build things differently on the shop floor. Different people need to be in place, different systems again need to be in place, and those all tie together. But think about that from a management standpoint as you're implementing tools to make your process more efficient. Think about the change management piece, because it will be there. As you're building up your shop, and if you, no matter what level you're at, I've seen small companies that we've sold data communications platforms to, which are now IoT platforms. I've seen small companies turn into medium companies during our implementation. They've grown and grown and grown. They've become more efficient. They've gotten to the size where we're no longer a small business, we're a medium business. It's fun to watch. I've seen large enterprises link multiple countries together and share data and figure out, okay, how do we figure out how to make this part the best through different value streams? I mean, there's all kinds of things I've seen, but what it really takes is a continuous improvement mindset. No matter where you're at, what size business you have, you want to have that, how do I continue to make my operations better? What Excellerant brings the shop, large or small, is the clarity to the data that's on the shop floor. As we're determining what happened inside the machine, we're working with the people that are overseeing these machines at providing clarity to that data. Before, we had data islands between what was happening with the machinery, what was happening with our systems on the computer side, what was happening with management with their systems. And as all of these companies start to open up their APIs so that they can cross-connect and share data, it's allowing us to be more efficient on many different levels. What you want to do from a company level is take the data that's in front of you and say, okay, what's the next step for where we're at? We might want to go from an older way of handling, well, we used to have wire strung everywhere. Now we have wireless. And now with wireless, we have data available at the fingertip. So our management can see that data in front of them. And as it's happening on the shop floor, they can go, yeah, I want to move this direction. And we're really getting to the point where the guys in the shop floor are talking openly with management about how to improve process. And that's really what we want. We want to get back to where this country was 50 years ago with shop floors. You know, when my grandfather was working for Pratt, where you had the engineer that, you know, college degree and everything, came to the shop floor, worked with the machinist, sat down, figured out, how do we work through the problems? How do we make this the most efficient? And through the years, that divide has kind of cropped up. And so what I'm seeing with Excellerant is it's opening up those channels. And it's not just, oh, well, they messed it up, or these guys didn't make it right, it came to the shop floor wrong. They're working hand in hand on how to resolve, how do we make this? How do we deliver this to our end customer? And how do we do it at the best quality, the best price, the best delivery? As long as you can have that open communication with all the people, the systems, the different departments, and then afterwards, you know, going with that change. Where is this going to take you? I can guarantee you it's going to change the way you manufacture your goods today. It's really kind of a renaissance in manufacturing, and it's fun to be part of. I would say embrace the change. Don't be afraid to move forward. Do that pilot and look at what that improves, and then multiply that out over however large your operation is. Keep the mindset of, I can continuously improve this, because I have not seen a shop yet that I've walked into that in some way, shape, or form they can't improve. So that's my advice from the guys that are creating software and hardware and systems to make your operations better. Keep making them better.